For years, my mother played the role of a pious saint while convincing me that my childhood inheritance was lost to bad investments. But when I discovered she had actually stolen the money to support a secret second family, I didn't get mad. I became the trustee of her church to destroy her legacy from the inside out. My name is Zoe Mitchell, my mother, Evelyn Mitchell, the woman who ran the soup kitchen with an iron fist, the woman who could quote Leviticus while judging your hemline, the woman who sat in the front pew of the Grace Community Tabernacle every single Sunday, weeping tears of spiritual ecstasy while the cameras rolled for the local broadcast. She was a pillar of the community, a saint, a martyr who had raised a daughter all on her own after my father's tragic heart attack when I was 12. To the public, she was Mother Teresa in designer heels. To me, she was a vault of secrets and calculated cruelty. Growing up, the narrative was always the same. We were broke. We were destitute. My father, a successful structural engineer, had apparently been a fool with his money. According to Evelyn, he had gambled it all away on risky stocks just before he died, leaving us with nothing but the house and a mountain of hidden debt. I remember being 18 years old, holding an acceptance letter to my dream university, a prestigious liberal arts college in New England. I had run into the kitchen, tears in my eyes, waving the paper. My mother was sitting at the granite island, sipping her morning tea, looking immaculate in a silk robe. She didn't even smile. She just sighed, that heavy, tragic sigh that was her trademark. "Zoe, honey," she said, placing a manicured hand over mine, "you know we can't afford that. The scholarship only covers tuition. What about room and board? What about books? The trust fund your father supposedly set up? Well, the market took it, darling. It's all gone. You'll have to go to the community college here. It's God's will." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mother. She was the woman who led the prayer circles. Saints don't lie about money. So I stayed. I went to the local state school. I worked 3 jobs, waitressing, tutoring, and freelance data entry, just to keep my head above water. I drove a beat-up sedan that rattled when it idled, while my mother drove a brand new Lexus, because, as she put it, appearances matter for the ministry. She needed to look blessed to attract blessings. I spent my 20s exhausted. I graduated with honors, got my CPA license, and started working as a forensic accountant. It's funny how life works out. My mother pushed me into a cheaper school, which forced me to be practical, which led me to a career specifically designed to uncover financial fraud. It was almost poetic. The crack in her facade appeared on a Tuesday in November. I was 28. My mother had decided to downsize, not because she needed the money, she was suspiciously flush with cash lately, but because she wanted a luxury condo closer to the church. She guilt-tripped me into coming over to help her pack the attic. "Zoe, be careful with those boxes," she shouted from the bottom of the stairs, sipping a glass of wine while I inhaled 20 years of dust. "Those are your father's old papers. I haven't had the heart to throw them away." I was moving a heavy plastic tote when it slipped from my grip and cracked open on the floor. Papers spilled everywhere. Old tax returns, receipts, bank statements. I knelt to gather them up, intending to just shove them back in, when a specific logo caught my eye. It was a bank statement from a bank I didn't recognize, an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, dated 3 years after my father died. My accountant brain kicked in before my daughter brain could stop it. I picked it up. The balance was staggering, 6 figures, and the beneficiary listed wasn't Evelyn Mitchell, it was a trust, the Evelyn and Marcus Holdings. Marcus? Who was Marcus? I kept digging. I found more. I found wire transfers, I found letters, and then, at the bottom of the stack, I found the photo album. It wasn't a family album of us, it was a family album of her. There was my mother, younger, smiling a smile I had never seen, genuine, warm. She was standing on a beach in Florida. Next to her was a man, tall, handsome, with a thick mustache, Marcus, and standing in front of them were 2 children, a boy and a girl. I flipped the photo over. Written in my mother's elegant, looping cursive were the words, Marcus Jr. and Sarah's first trip to Disney, 2005. 2005? I was 15 in 2005. That was the year my mother told me we couldn't afford for me to go on the school band trip to Washington, D.C. That was the year I started working under the table at a diner to buy my own school clothes. I sat on the dusty floor of that attic for 3 hours. I went through everything. The story that unfolded in those documents was a masterclass in deception. My father hadn't lost the money. The insurance payout, the investments, the savings, it was all there, millions. But my mother hadn't used it to pay off debts. She had funneled it. She had set up shell companies and fake consulting fees. She had been draining my inheritance, dollar by dollar, to support Marcus and their 2 secret children in Tampa, Florida. She wasn't just supporting them, she was funding a lavish lifestyle. Private schools for Marcus Jr. and Sarah, a beachfront property, luxury cars, vacations to Europe, all paid for by the bad investments that stole my future. I took photos of everything with my phone. Then I carefully packed the papers back into the broken tote, taped it shut, and went downstairs. My mother looked up from her magazine. "All done? You look pale, Zoe. You really need to take better care of yourself. You look haggard." I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. I didn't see the saint anymore. I saw a monster in a cardigan. "I'm fine, Mom," I said. "Just dust allergies." I drove home in silence. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I sat in my dark apartment and stared at the wall. The rage that built inside me wasn't hot, it was cold. It was absolute zero. If I confronted her now, she would deny it. She would gaslight me. She would claim the money was for charity or that I was misunderstanding. She would turn the family against me. She would turn the church against me. No. I needed more than just the truth. I needed justice. And for a woman like Evelyn Mitchell, justice meant humiliation. It meant stripping away the one thing she valued more than money, her reputation. The plan formed slowly over the next few weeks. I knew my mother's weakness. It was her vanity, specifically her obsession with her legacy at the Grace Community Tabernacle. She was the head of the Ladies' Altar Society and was constantly vying for more power within the church administration. I started showing up at church. My mother was suspicious at first. I hadn't attended a service in years, but I played the part of the prodigal daughter returning to the fold. I wore the modest dresses. I sat next to her. I held her hand during the hymns. I watched her preen as people complimented her on bringing me back to the Lord. "Oh, it's just the power of prayer," she would say, beaming. I never gave up on her. I joined the volunteer committee, I baked cookies, I stacked chairs, and then I waited for my opening. It came 2 months later. The church's longtime treasurer, Mr. Henderson, suffered a stroke. It was tragic, and the church was in chaos. They needed someone to handle the books, manage the trust funds, and oversee the upcoming Jubilee, a massive televised celebration of the church's 50th anniversary, where my mother was scheduled to receive the Saint of the Year award. I volunteered. "I have my CPA, Mom," I told her over lunch. "I can step in as interim trustee, just until Mr. Henderson gets back. It would look so good for the family. We could serve together." Her eyes lit up. The nepotism appealed to her narcissism. Having her daughter control the money, it made her feel powerful. She pushed for me with the Board of Deacons. "My daughter is a top-tier accountant," she bragged. "She'll do it for free, as a service to God." The board voted me in unanimously. I was now the trustee of the Grace Community Tabernacle. The first night I had access to the church's financial server, I stayed up until dawn. I wasn't just looking for proof of her past crimes against me, I was looking for current ones. I knew my mother. If she was willing to steal from her own daughter, she wouldn't hesitate to steal from God. It didn't take long. The church had a specific fund called the Widows and Orphans Outreach Program. It was designed to send aid to struggling families in South America. My mother was the director of that program. I pulled the transaction history. Every month, $5,000 was wired to a charity in Brazil called Luz da Vida. I ran a background check on Luz da Vida. It wasn't a charity. It was a shell corporation registered in Florida. The registered agent? Marcus. She wasn't just using my inheritance anymore, she had burned through most of that. Now she was embezzling church donations to keep her second family afloat. She was stealing from the collection plate to pay for Marcus Jr.'s college tuition, the tuition she refused to pay for me. The Jubilee was 3 weeks away. It was going to be the biggest event in the church's history, live broadcast on the local network, streaming worldwide. The mayor was coming. My mother was in a frenzy of preparation. She bought a $3,000 dress. She wrote a speech about sacrifice and maternal love. She was going to stand on that stage, receive a crystal plaque, and be canonized by the community. I helped her write the speech. I told her it was beautiful. I told her she deserved every bit of acclaim. Meanwhile, I was preparing my own presentation. As the trustee, I was scheduled to give a brief State of the Church financial update before the awards ceremony. It was supposed to be a boring 5-minute slideshow about roof repairs and youth group funding. I spent nights editing. I scanned the bank transfers from my father's trust. I scanned the photos of Marcus and the kids. I scanned the wire transfers from the church accounts to the Florida Shell Company. I built a timeline. I also hired a private investigator in Tampa to get current photos. He sent me 4K video footage of Marcus and my mother, who had supposedly been on a spiritual retreat last month, having a romantic dinner. He got footage of the kids, now adults, driving cars registered to the Shell Corp. The day of the Jubilee arrived. The church was packed, flowers everywhere. The choir was singing. The air smelled of expensive perfume and hypocrisy. My mother looked stunning. She squeezed my hand in the front row. "I'm so proud of you, Zoe," she whispered. "Finally doing something with your life." I smiled. "I love you too, Mom." The service began. The praise and worship went on for an hour. Then the pastor invited me up for the financial report. I walked to the podium. I was wearing a simple black suit. I adjusted the microphone. I looked out at the sea of faces. 600 people in the room, thousands watching online. I saw my mother in the front row, looking up at me with a benevolent, queenly smile. "Good morning," I said. My voice was steady. I was surprised by how calm I felt. "I am here to give the financial report," I continued. "But numbers are more than just math. Numbers tell a story. They tell us where our values lie. They tell us what we truly worship." I clicked the remote. The giant screen behind me, which was supposed to show a pie chart of the building fund, lit up. But it wasn't a pie chart. It was a photo of my father. "This is my father, David," I said. "He died when I was 12. I was told he left us penniless. I was told his bad choices forced my mother to struggle." My mother's smile faltered slightly. She shifted in her seat, confused. I clicked the remote again. A bank statement appeared on the screen, magnified so everyone could read the numbers. "This is the balance of his estate the day he died, $3.2 million. A murmur went through the crowd. My mother started to stand up, her face draining of color. I clicked again. A series of checks appeared. "And this," I said, my voice hardening, "is where that money went. It wasn't lost to the market. It was transferred to an account in Tampa, Florida." "Zoe!" my mother hissed, loud enough for the first few rows to hear. "Stop this!" She was gesturing frantically to the sound booth to cut the feed, but I had already spoken to the tech guy, a sweet kid named Kevin who had been bullied by my mother for years. Kevin wasn't cutting anything. I clicked again. The photo of the second family appeared. My mother, Marcus, and their 2 children on a yacht. "This is Marcus," I explained to the stunned audience, "and his children, Marcus Jr. and Sarah." While I was working 3 jobs to pay for community college because my mother told me we were broke, Marcus Jr. was attending a private prep school paid for by my father's life insurance. The crowd was gasping now. People were standing up. The pastor looked like he was having a stroke. My mother was now in the aisles screaming, "You are lying! She's mentally ill! Cut the feed!" I didn't stop. I had to finish. "But the betrayal doesn't stop at my family," I said, leaning into the mic, "because when my inheritance ran dry, my mother needed a new source of income to support her secret life." I clicked the remote one last time. the screen filled with the church financial records, the Widows and Orphans Fund transfers next to the Luz de Vida Shell Company registration. For the last 4 years, Evelyn Mitchell has been embezzling approximately $5,000 a month from this church's charity fund. The money you gave to feed starving children in Brazil actually went to pay for a luxury condo in Tampa. The room erupted. It was absolute chaos. It wasn't just a gasp anymore. It was a roar. The deception was too vast, too specific to be denied. The evidence was 40 feet tall behind me. My mother lunged for the stage. 2 deacons, men she had bossed around for a decade, stepped in front of her to block her path. She looked at them, shocked, and then she looked at me. Her face was contorted into a mask of pure hatred. The saint was gone. The demon was out. "I exposed you," I shouted over the noise. "I exposed you because the truth matters. You stole my life. You stole their faith. And you did it all while judging everyone else." I dropped the remote on the podium. It made a loud thud that echoed through the sound system. I walked off the stage, down the side stairs, and out the emergency exit. I didn't stay for the aftermath, but I heard about it. Oh, did I hear about it. The police were waiting for her in the lobby. I had turned over the full forensic audit to the district attorney 3 days prior. They arrested her in her $3,000 dress. The fallout was nuclear. The Saint of the Year award was obviously rescinded. The church is currently undergoing a massive third-party audit. The story made national news. The church lady con artist. My mother is currently out on bail, awaiting trial for embezzlement, fraud, and money laundering. The evidence is overwhelming. She's facing 10 to 15 years in prison. The second family? That was the icing on the cake. Marcus didn't know the money was stolen. He thought my mother was a wealthy widow. When the accounts were frozen, he bailed. He left her. The perfect family she had bought with stolen money dissolved the moment the checks bounced. As for me, I'm doing okay, better than okay. I sued my mother for the misappropriation of my trust fund. There wasn't much liquid cash left, but the court awarded me the equity in her house, her car, and yes, the secret condo in Tampa. I sold the house. I sold the condo. I sold the Lexus. I took the money she had tried so hard to keep from me, and I finally did what I wanted to do when I was 18. I went back to school. I'm getting my master's degree in criminal justice. Sometimes people ask me if I feel bad. They ask if it was too harsh to do it on live TV. They ask if I regret humiliating my own mother in front of the world. I think about those years I spent scrubbing tables while she lied to my face. I think about my father's legacy being used to fund a stranger's life. I think about the Widows and Orphans Fund, and I sleep like a baby. She wanted to be famous. She wanted the world to look at her. Well, Mom, you got your wish. Everyone is looking at you now, and they see exactly who you are.